A key issue in Cyprus is what do you do in an environment in the Eastern Mediterranean that there is a high degree of insecurity. How do you create a secure environment in a federation? There are three fundamental ways of doing so. The first is the role of international actors. Do you create a system that is only Cypriot, or do you create a system that involves international peacekeepers, international mediation by the International Court of Justice in The Hague, international support guarantees by the Security Council that are secure under Chapter 7 of the Security Council? The second is the level of courts in a federation, system of courts that allows any individual to take action if they feel that their rights are being violated, a system of courts that is enforceable and it is fair and it's based on international precedents. And the third is the arrangement that you do on the local level. What kind of policing? Is it bicommunal? How do you create a national army that serves the federal system? Countries around the world have worked on a number of precedents, and those precedents are part of the discussion right now in Cyprus. How do we learn from other cases where security was equally an important concern, and how do we create a federation that would allow the Cypriots to feel secure?
Security is one of the thorniest issues inside the Cypriot negotiations and how we think about the peace process. In fact, security is probably the culprit and responsible for the breakdown of negotiations throughout the history. And it has been a hot topic. It has been a topic that we were afraid to touch. But things are changing and things are evolving in the way that we approach security. And there are 4 principles that we should think about when we are reimagining security. Firstly, what are we trying to solve? What are the insecurities? What are the problems? What are the fears and the threats that we are trying to address? If my fears and insecurities are about functionality, or about my kids being bullied at school, me being discriminated against or marginalized, what are hard security and militaristic solutions going to do about that? So firstly, we need to understand what our people's fears and insecurities are. So if I'm really scared that I'm going to be marginalized, I might migrate. I might stop my investment. I might choose to send my kid from this school to another school. I might choose to vote for a different political party. So it doesn't matter whether people's fears are real or objective, because it will shape the way they behave as citizens, the way they will relate to their neighbors, the way they will relate to institutions. The second principle is that we need to think of security beyond reactive measures. So militaristic solutions, guarantees and troops, these are hard security and reactive measures. They come at the worst case scenario. So what do we do before we get there? What are the preventative measures and solutions we are going to include in our security architecture so that we never need the worst case scenarios? These include more social, economic, political, and interrelational solutions. So beyond thinking of uniforms in the street, what are the agencies, security agencies, we are going to construct? How are they going to make their decisions? Are they going to be appointed or elected? Are we electing the chief police officer, but appointing something more technocratic and something more expertise-based, such as rapid reaction force? So we need to think about these things from both the problem side of things, but as well as preventative side of things. So that's the second principle. And the third principle is to adopt an integrative approach. We need a holistic understanding of security. In our research, when we looked at what people are scared of, a lot of their fears relate to economic security, dysfunctionality, so how effective and responsive institutions are to their needs, service provision, and marginalization. These issues are beyond the realms of hard security solutions. So if we think of security in a more integrative, holistic way, then suddenly the alternatives that are available to us in terms of what we can build, like a Lego, what are the structures and the solutions we're building into the security framework, multiplies, and then suddenly there's more room for convergence, because we are not then bound by narrow, realpolitik, security solutions that are about troops and guarantees, which has been very sensitive and plays to people's traumas and fears. But then we'll have a wide range of solutions and measures to pick, choose, tailor to people's needs. And this opens up the room for compromise, but it also changes the way we think about security, because these traditional, narrow, militaristic security solutions create and reinforce the narrative that I'm securing myself against you. But if we broaden the way we look at security and we include these other aspects and adopt an integrative approach, and we include political security, economic security, ontological identity, representation, different issues that surround security, then we can talk about providing shared security solutions rather than securing one community against another. I'm not suggesting that these external or militaristic solutions are irrelevant at all, but they are worst case scenarios we should talk about and think about them last. And maybe they won't be relevant anymore. Maybe they will be obsolete at that time. So, mentioned the fourth principle is the collaborative principle. And this relates to how security institutions and agencies relate to other institutions and relate to citizens. Because at the end of the day, whether we're talking about guarantees, be it Turkey, EU, UN, whoever these things are, they're transitionary. They're not permanent. They are to guarantee that the state of affairs and the implementation of the new agreement and the federal model is maturing, and once it's mature, these transitionary elements need to disappear. So our security structure needs to include solutions that can help our institutions to mature and build endogenous resilience so that we don't need the external elements and we don't need the external security structures for long term, and we don't build dependence in other external security solutions. So the way we can rethink about our federal security architecture for Cyprus is based on these four principles. We can think of it in terms of the problems and the insecurities we are addressing. We need to ensure that it's integrative and holistic in the way that it approaches security. We need to make sure that the collaboration, citizens' relations and confidence is inbuilt in the design. And we need to consider preventative measures as well as reactive measures.